Ambassador Kim Hana walked slowly into the massive chamber of the Galactic Council. The room was huge, with walls made of crystal that sparkled in the light. Hundreds of different alien species sat in their seats, watching her with curious eyes. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking trees, and some were made of pure light. Hana wore her simple blue uniform with the Earth symbol on her chest. She carried a small datapad in her hands. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her face calm. She had done this many times before, but it never got easier. The Vextar delegate stood up from his seat. He was tall and covered in green scales, like a snake. His yellow eyes looked at Hana with disgust. When he spoke, his forked tongue came out of his mouth. "Look who comes to beg again," he said in a cold voice. "The weak humans want to talk instead of fight. How pathetic." Other aliens in the room started to laugh. The sound echoed off the crystal walls. Hana felt her cheeks get warm, but she did not look away. The Hive-Rock Queen made clicking sounds with her mouth. She looked like a giant ant with 4 arms and black eyes. A small machine hung around her neck to translate her words. "Your people gave us 3 mining planets last month," the machine said in a flat voice. "You gave the Zephyrians your space, stations near Jupiter. You always run away. You never fight back. Why should we respect you?" More laughter filled the room. Some aliens pointed at Hana with their claws or tentacles. Others made rude gestures that she tried to ignore. "The Republic of Earth believes in peace," Hana said clearly. Her voice was steady, even though her hands were shaking. "We think problems should be solved with words, not weapons." "Words are for the weak," said the Vextar delegate. "Strong species take what they want. Weak species give it away." He looked around the room. "Which one are humans?" The room erupted in more laughter. Hana closed her eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. If only they knew the truth. If only they understood what humans were really capable of. Back on Earth, deep underground in a secret military base, there were files that most humans had never seen. These files contained the real history of humanity. Pictures of cities destroyed by nuclear fire, records of wars that killed millions, videos of weapons that could destroy entire planets. Hana had seen these files during her military training years ago. She remembered the night she first learned about the nuclear conflicts of 2157. The war had lasted only 6 months, but it almost ended human civilization. Entire countries had been wiped off the map. The scars were still visible on the moon, where the final battle had taken place. After that war, humanity had made a choice. They decided to never let their violent nature take control again. They built their new society around one simple rule: avoid war at any cost. When humans first traveled to other stars, they brought this philosophy with them. Every human child learned about the horrors of war. Every human leader was taught to choose peace over victory. It was not because they were weak. It was because they knew what they could become if they let their true nature free. "We have a new demand," said the Hive-Rock Queen. Her black eyes stared at Hana without blinking. "We want your colonies in the Kepler system, all of them. You have 1 week to move your people out." The room went quiet. This was not just about mining rights or space stations anymore. The Kepler system had over 2 million human colonists. It was their most important territory outside of Earth's solar system. Hana felt something cold in her stomach. "That system has been human territory for over 50 years, she said carefully. "Our people have built homes there. They have families. Then they can build new homes somewhere else," said the Vextar delegate with a cruel smile. "Or maybe they cannot. That is not our problem." Several other alien species started to agree with the Hive-Rock and Vextar. They talked about how humans always gave in to demands. They said it was time to teach humans their proper place in the galaxy. Hana looked around the room at all the hostile faces. These aliens saw humans as weak prey animals. They thought humans would always back down, always surrender, always run away. They were wrong. Deep in her memory, Hana could hear the words of her old military instructor. "Remember, soldier, we choose to be peaceful not because we cannot fight, but because we fight too well." She touched the small communicator on her wrist. With one signal, she could contact Earth's military command. She could tell them that diplomacy had failed. She could authorize the use of protocols that had been sleeping for 300 years, but not yet. Not while there was still a chance for peace. "I will discuss your demands with my government," she said quietly. The aliens laughed again, thinking they had won another easy victory against the weak humans. They had no idea that their laughter might soon turn to screams of terror. Deep beneath the city of Seoul, in a place most people never knew existed, General Park Min-ho sat in his command center. The room was filled with glowing screens and blinking lights. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls, showing human colonies scattered across hundreds of star systems. Min-ho was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been a soldier for 40 years, but he had never wanted to fight a real war. He had spent his whole career hoping this day would never come. A soft beep came from his main computer. A message was arriving from space, from the Galactic Council station far away. The holographic display lit up with words that made Min-ho's heart sink. Final demand from Hive Rock Swarm. All human outer colonies must surrender in 72 hours. No exceptions, no negotiations. Lieutenant Lee Daeun stood nearby. She was young, maybe 25 years old, with short black hair and a serious face. She had been working with Min-ho for 3 years, but she had never seen him look so worried. "Sir," she said quietly. "Ambassador, Kim wants to talk to you right away. She says it's urgent." Min-ho nodded and pressed a button on his desk. The air above his desk shimmered, and suddenly Ambassador Kim Hana appeared as a ghostly blue image. She looked terrible. Her hair was messy, her eyes were red, and her hands were shaking. "Min-ho," she said, and her voice sounded like she had been crying. "It's over. They won't listen to us anymore." "What happened?" Min-ho asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. "The Galactic Council voted today. They said the Hive Rock have the right to take our colonies. They called it natural expansion, like we're just animals whose territory can be given away." Hana's voice got louder and angrier. 40 years, Min-ho. 40 years of being polite, of giving them what they wanted, of always backing down, and this is how they repay us. Min-ho felt something heavy in his chest. For decades, he had watched human diplomats give away mining rights, trade routes, and even small colonies. Each time, the aliens demanded more. Each time, humans said yes to keep the peace. "Are you absolutely sure there's no other way?" he asked. "Maybe if we offered them something else." "I offered them everything except Earth itself," Hana said. "Our best trade routes, our newest technology, even our military bases in neutral space." "They laughed at me, Min-ho. They actually laughed." She paused and wiped her eyes. "The Vextar are already sending their fleets toward our cargo ships. They're calling it security enforcement, but we both know what it really is. They're going to start attacking our civilians." Min-ho looked across his command center. Young officers sat at their stations monitoring peaceful activities across human space. They were tracking cargo ships, coordinating with exploration teams, and helping colonists build new homes on distant worlds. None of them knew that everything was about to change. In the corner of his office stood a metal cabinet with 3 different locks. Inside that cabinet was something that had not been touched for over 200 years. The authorization codes for humanity's deepest military secrets, weapons and strategies that had been locked away after the last Great War. "They think we're cowards," Hana continued. "The Vextar delegate told everyone that humans are the galaxy's favorite victims. The Hive Rock Queen said we exist only to make other species feel strong." Min-ho's hands slowly formed into fists. His grandfather had fought in the nuclear conflicts of 2157. His grandfather had seen entire cities disappear in flashes of light. After that war ended, humanity had sworn to never unleash such horror again. But the galaxy was forcing their hand. "What is your official recommendation, Ambassador?" Min-ho asked. Hana closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were hard as steel. "Transition to historical protocols, and may our ancestors forgive us for what we're about to do." The Isai holographic image disappeared. Min-ho sat alone in the sudden silence, Lieutenant Lee looked at him with confusion in her eyes. "Sir, what are historical protocols?" she asked. Minho stood up slowly. His old bones creaked, but his mind was suddenly sharp and clear. He walked to the metal cabinet and began entering the first unlock code. "Lieutenant," he said without looking at her, "get me Admiral Choi Ji-won immediately. Tell her the sleeping giant is waking up." "I don't understand, sir." Minho entered the second unlock code. "For 300 years we have pretended to be weak. We have let the galaxy think we are afraid to fight. We did this to protect them from the truth." He entered the final code. The cabinet opened with a soft click. "What truth, sir?" Inside the cabinet were files marked with symbols that Lieutenant Lee had never seen before. Weapons specifications, battle plans, and military protocols from humanity's darkest period. Minho pulled out a single red folder. "The truth," he said, quietly, "is that we are not afraid to fight. We are afraid of what happens when we do fight. The galaxy is about to learn the difference." He opened the folder and began to read instructions that had not been used since humanity's homeworld nearly destroyed itself. Outside in the peaceful corridors of Seoul Station, people went about their daily lives not knowing that everything was about to change forever. Admiral Choi Ji-won stood very still on the bridge of her warship, the Silent Thunder. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and short gray hair. Her uniform was perfectly neat, and her face showed no emotion at all. She looked like someone who had seen many battles and won them all. In front of her, a large screen showed the empty darkness of space. But 12 hours ago, that same space had been filled with 847 enemy ships. The entire advanced fleet of the HFY swarm had been there, ready to attack human colonies. Now there was nothing. Commander Nam Yu-jin walked up to her. He was young and looked nervous. This was his first real military operation, and he had never seen anything like what just happened. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "the quantum mines worked exactly as planned. All 847 enemy ships are gone. No pieces left behind, no survivors, no trace that they were ever here." Admiral Choi nodded slowly. Quantum mines were a human invention that most of the galaxy had never heard of. When they exploded, they didn't just destroy ships, they made them disappear completely. It was as if the ships had never existed at all. "What about their messages back to their home world?" she asked. "We caught all their communications and changed them," Nam Yu-jin replied. "The HFY leaders still think their advanced fleet is traveling through space toward our colonies. They have no idea their ships are gone." Through the big windows of the bridge, Admiral Choi could see the human defense fleet floating in space. To anyone watching from far away, the ships looked normal. They looked like the cargo ships and patrol boats that humans always used. They looked weak and harmless. But Admiral Choi knew the truth. Every single cargo ship in the fleet carried weapons that could destroy a small moon. Every patrol boat had shields strong enough to stop the biggest enemy attacks. The civilian space stations near human colonies were actually giant fortresses with thousands of hidden weapons. For 300 years, humans had been pretending to be weak. They had built their strongest weapons inside ships that looked peaceful. They had trained their most dangerous soldiers to act like merchants and explorers. The whole galaxy thought humans were cowards who ran away from every fight. Today, the galaxy would learn how wrong they were. A soft beeping sound came from the communication system. Voices began speaking from different parts of human space, all reporting to Admiral Choi. Titan base calling. "The Vextar scout ships are gone. We eliminated all 12 of them. No one escaped to tell their friends what happened." Europa Station, reporting. "Our Ghost Fleet is in position. We have cut off all enemy supply lines. Their reinforcement ships cannot reach the battle zone. Mars Command standing by. All weapon systems are ready. We are waiting for permission to use Total War protocols." Admiral Choi listened to each report with the same calm expression. Total War protocols were the most dangerous weapons humanity had ever created. They had not been used since the nuclear conflicts of 2157, when humans almost destroyed their own planet. She pressed a button and spoke to all human military units across the galaxy. All units, listen carefully. We are not at war. We are performing pest control. Be clinical. Be efficient. Show no emotion. Make the enemies disappear completely. 6 hours later, the main HFY battle fleet arrived in the system. There were over 3,000 ships, each one as big as a city. The HFY were confident they would win easily. They had been told that humans always ran away from fights. The HFY fleet commander was a giant insect with 4 arms and black eyes like mirrors. He looked at his screens and saw only empty space where his advance fleet should have been, waiting. "Where are our advance ships?" he asked his officers. "Sir, we are receiving their messages. They report normal travel. They should be here already." The commander felt confused. His screen showed nothing but empty space and a few small, human patrol boats. The human ships looked tiny compared to his massive fleet. "Destroy those human ships," he ordered. "Show them what happens when insects get in our way." But when his weapons fired, something impossible happened. The small human ships didn't explode. Instead, they seemed to absorb the energy from the attacks. Then they began to change. The cargo ships opened like flowers, revealing massive guns that glowed with deadly energy. The patrol boats grew larger as hidden armor plates extended from their hulls. The civilian stations transformed into fortress worlds with weapons pointing in every direction. Admiral Choi watched the enemy fleet realize their mistake. She could see the panic spreading through their communications. The HFY had expected to fight weak humans who would run away. Instead, they found themselves facing weapons beyond their imagination. "Fire," she said calmly. The human fleet opened fire all at once. But these were not normal weapons. These were the tools of a species that had once nearly destroyed itself, in war. Each shot was perfectly aimed. Each blast was calculated for maximum effect. The HFY fleet began to disappear, ship by ship, exactly as the advance fleet had done. The insects screamed in their alien language, but no one was listening. Within 1 hour, 3,000 enemy ships became empty space. Admiral Choi looked at the emptiness where her enemies had been. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson about humans. They had conquered the stars not by being aggressive, but by being so good at war that they chose peace instead. The great crystal chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with panic. Alien delegates ran around in circles, their voices creating a loud chaos of fear and confusion. Emergency lights flashed red across the walls, and warning sounds echoed through the huge room. At the center of it all, a recording played over and over again. The voice was calm and cold, speaking in perfect human language. "This is Overlord Kim Taehyung to all human defense forces. HFY swarm elimination proceeding at 94% efficiency. Estimated completion in 6 hours. Vextar interdiction fleets have been discouraged, requesting permission to escalate to total war protocols if additional species require education." The Zephyrian delegate was a being made of living crystal that normally glowed with beautiful colors. Now his entire body flickered with rapid flashes of red and orange, the colors of extreme fear in his species. "Total war protocols," he said in a shaking voice. "What does this mean? What are humans talking about?" Other aliens gathered around him, all asking the same question. The insect-like HFY queen was no longer in her seat. Her entire species had been wiped out in less than 1 day. The Vextar delegate sat alone in his corner. His green scales turned pale with terror. Ambassador Kim Hana walked into the chamber, but she looked completely different from before. Instead of her simple blue diplomatic uniform, she now wore a dark military outfit with silver stars on her shoulders. Her face was hard and serious, like a soldier ready for battle. The room went quiet as she approached the center speaking platform. Every alien eye in the chamber followed her movements. They had laughed at her just days ago, calling her weak and pathetic. Now they were all afraid to make a sound. "You want to know what Total War Protocols means?" Hana said. Her voice was not loud, but it carried across the entire chamber like a whisper of death. "It means we stop pretending to be nice. It means we stop acting civilized." She pressed a button on a small device in her hand. The air above the chamber filled with holographic images that made several aliens gasp in horror. The first image showed a human city from long ago. It was beautiful, with tall buildings reaching toward the sky and millions of people living peaceful lives. Suddenly, a bright flash filled the screen. When the light faded, the entire city was gone. Nothing remained but a crater of melted glass and twisted metal. "This is what humans did to ourselves," Hannah said calmly. "This was our home planet Earth during the nuclear conflicts of 2157. We destroyed entire cities in seconds. We turned our own moon into a battlefield. We created weapons that could crack planets in half." More images appeared. Space battles, with ships the size of asteroids firing beams of energy that could be seen from other star systems. Factories working day and night to build weapons of incredible destruction. Soldiers in armor that made them look like metal giants. "We learned that we were very, very good at war," Hannah continued. "Too good. We were so good at killing that we almost killed ourselves. So we made a choice. We decided to hide our weapons and pretend to be weak." The Altarian delegate, a being of pure energy, flickered with confusion. "But why? Why hide your strength?" "Because we hoped never to use it again," Hannah answered. "For 3 centuries we have built our merchant ships to look harmless while hiding planet-killing weapons inside them. We have trained our children to be diplomats and scholars, but also to be soldiers who could fight with their bare hands. We have built our colonies to look like peaceful farms while hiding fortress weapons underground." She turned to look directly at the Vextar delegate, who was trying to make himself as small as possible in his chair. "Every human cargo ship that has visited your worlds could have destroyed them completely. Every human tourist who has walked through your cities was trained to eliminate entire armies. Every human diplomat who smiled and gave you what you wanted was actually a military officer deciding whether you deserved to live." The Vextar delegate's voice came out as a tiny whisper. "How long have you been capable of this?" Hannah's smile was colder than the empty space between stars. "Since before we left our homeworld. We have been holding back for 400 years, hoping you would never force us to remember what we really are." The chamber was completely silent now. Even the aliens who breathed loudly had stopped making noise. "Yesterday you laughed at us," Hannah said. "You called us cowards and weaklings. You said we existed only to make other species feel strong. Today, the Hivrak swarm no longer exists. The Vextar battle fleet has vanished, and we did all of this while still holding back our most dangerous weapons." She looked around the chamber at all the terrified faces. "The choice is yours now. We can return to peaceful diplomacy, with you treating us as equals. Or we can show you what total war protocols really means. We can show you what happens when humans stop pretending to be civilized." The silence stretched on and on. Nobody wanted to be the first to speak. Nobody wanted to be the next species to learn what human weapons could really do. Finally, the Altarian delegate spoke in a voice full of respect and fear. "What do you want from us?" Hannah's expression softened slightly. "The same thing we have always wanted. Peace." 1 month had passed since the galaxy learned the truth about humans. Ambassador Kim Hannah walked into the Galactic Council chamber once again, but everything was different now. The huge crystal room was completely quiet. No one was laughing or making jokes. No one was pointing at her with claws or tentacles. The Thar aliens sat in their seats like children who had been caught doing something wrong. Their eyes followed Hannah as she moved, but they quickly looked away when she glanced at them. The air felt heavy with fear and respect. In one corner of the chamber, there was an empty chair. It belonged to the Hivrak delegate, but no one from that species would ever sit there again. The Hivrak swarm had completely disappeared from the galaxy. Their planets were still there, perfectly clean and undamaged, but no living thing remained on them. They had become silent monuments to what happened when humans stopped being patient. Hannah wore her diplomatic uniform again, the simple blue outfit with Earth's symbol, but everyone in the room knew that she could change into a military uniform at any moment. They knew that behind her calm smile was a mind trained for war. "The Republic of Earth," she announced clearly, "wishes to return to normal diplomatic relations with all species in the galaxy." The words hung in the air like a question. For a long time, nobody spoke. The aliens looked at each other nervously, wondering who would be brave enough to answer first. Finally, the Altarian delegate spoke. He was a being made of pure energy, glowing like a small star. Even his light seemed dimmer than usual, as if he was trying not to attract attention. "And if we refuse?" he asked carefully. "If we try to limit human expansion or restrict your territory?" Admiral Choi Ji-won stood up from her seat near the back of the room. She wore her formal military dress uniform, with rows of medals across her chest. Her face showed no emotion at all as she spoke. "Then we will show you why our ancestors built weapons that could crack planets in half, and then decided to lock those weapons away forever," she said in a voice like cold metal. "The choice, as it has always been, is yours to make, General." Park Min-ho was also in the room, sitting quietly in another corner. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes, but when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries. "We spent 400 years proving that we did not want to fight," he said softly. "Please do not force us to prove why you should be afraid of us." The chamber was so quiet that Hana could hear her own heartbeat. She looked around at all the alien faces staring at her. Some looked scared, some looked confused, but all of them looked respectful. The Altarian delegate's energy form flickered as he thought about what to say next. "What exactly are you asking for?" "Full membership in the Galactic Council," Hana replied. "Equal voting rights, recognition of all human territory, and the right to expand peacefully without interference." The Vextar delegate, whose green scales had been pale with fear for weeks, raised one shaking hand. "And in return?" "We will return to being the peaceful diplomatic species you once knew," Hana said. "We will help solve conflicts with words, instead of weapons. We will share our technology and knowledge. We will be the neighbors you want us to be." She paused and looked directly at him. "As long as you remember what happens when we are not treated with respect." The vote was called immediately. One by one, every species in the galaxy voted to accept humanity's demands. The Zephyrians voted yes. The Altarians voted yes. Even the Vextar, despite their fear, voted yes. There was not a single vote against humanity. When the session ended, the aliens began to leave quickly. They wanted to get away from the humans, as fast as possible. But the Zephyrian delegate, whose crystal body still flickered with nervous colors, approached Hana privately. "Can I ask you something?" he said quietly. "Of course." "Does your species really prefer peace? Or is this all just a trick to make us lower our guard?" Hana walked to the large transparent wall that showed the stars outside. In the distance, she could see a human patrol ship moving silently through space. It looked small and harmless, but she knew it carried enough weapons to destroy everything within 100 light years. "We learned something from our ancestors long ago," she said thoughtfully. "They wrote that if you want peace, you must prepare for war. We prepared so well for war that we frightened ourselves into choosing peace instead." The Zephyrian's crystal form shifted colors as he tried to understand. "I do not follow." "We became so good at destroying things that we realized we never wanted to destroy anything again," Hana explained. "We built weapons that could end entire civilizations, and then we locked them away because we were scared of what we had become." She turned to look at him directly. "Every human ship, every human colony, every human soldier is a reminder of what we could do if we chose to. But we choose not to, because we remember what happened when we did not hold back." The patrol ship outside completed its slow turn and began moving toward another star system. Hana watched it go with a mixture of pride and sadness. "The galaxy should be grateful," she said quietly, "that when humans say we do not want to fight, we really mean, we do not want to show you why you should be afraid." The Zephyrian delegate said nothing more. He simply bowed respectfully and left the chamber, his crystal body glowing with colors of deep understanding and permanent caution.